And what is happening, everyone? TCT back again. What is up, all moviegoers? Tonight, I just got through seeing The Iron Claw. This is a movie based on the Von Erich wrestling family. For those of you who do not know who the Von Erichs are, you're in for an awful tragedy, man. I remember watching the Von Erichs as a kid. I remember everything that happened. So going into it, I was expecting to see the tragedy. I was expecting to see everything that happened to those boys and to those young men. And let me just say, man, this has Oscar nominations written all over it. This was a very, very, very well done movie. It's not a feel good movie. If you're going as a wrestling fan, you know it's not a feel good movie. If you're an average moviegoer, if you don't know who the Von Erichs are and you want to see a good movie, this is a good movie. This is a very good movie. They did a great job with this. I will tell you, there's a couple of happy moments in there, but take it from me, after like the 1 hour and 10-minute mark, it's just nothing but downhill from the reigns of success for the Von Erichs. It's nothing but downhill, guys. Zac Efron, who played Kevin Von Erich, excellent job. I got to meet Kevin Von Erich when I was younger, and I told him I had great respect for his family and his brothers when I was a young kid. And he said, thank you very much. He's a very nice man. I'm glad he's still with us. Kerry Von Erich, who was played by Jeremy Allen White. Most of you will know him from the TV show Shameless. He was great as Kerry Von Erich, showed the story of Kerry, everything that happened. That was the one that I remembered the most, the tragic one that I remembered the most because it happened when I was young. The rest of them, I hadn't, I wasn't old enough to see, but that tragedy, I remember what happened to Kerry. I don't want to give too much away for those of you who don't know the story and that would like to watch it for yourselves. It's not pretty. It's not pretty. It's a very sad story based on a great, great group of athletes, wrestling family, pushed by their dad. Dad was played by Holt McCallany. He did excellent as the dad, made you hate him very much. Just as I'm sure those boys, even though they say they love their dad, they hated the reign of terror that their dad put them through. I also want to say David Von Erich, who was played by Harris Dickinson. Great job. Not in it too long though. A couple things happen. The movie is very fast paced, to where it jumps a lot. Like, in order to get the entirety of the family story into about a 2 hour and 10-minute time frame, they had to go very quickly through a timeline, and that's something that is going to be left up to debate with some of the fans. Maybe it should have been like a television show or a series. I think it was fine as a movie. I think they did a great job as a film. People are going to complain that it wasn't long enough. I think it was just right. Even though, yeah, it does feel like we're rushing into things. This stuff kind of did happen back to back to back to back to back to this family. You know, the curse of the Von Erichs is what they would like to call it. I also want to say that the guy who played Mike Von Erich, great job. It was Stanley Simmons, who or Simons, however you say his name. He did a great job as Mike Von Erich. I do remember seeing Mike as a kid. I remember Kerry Von Erich, the Blue Texas Tornado. I remember watching Kevin. The reason why I remember Kevin so much is because Kevin is the Von Erich that wrestled without boots. He always wrestled in his bare feet, which was always it was always very interesting to me. It's something that Cody Rhodes did for a lot of years, basically until now. He wrestled in his feet, just his bare feet, which is pretty bold in wrestling nowadays. Matt Riddle does the same thing, so you got to give it to him for that one. Let me also say that Lily James, who played Pam, Kevin's wife in the movie, she was great. She made you really feel for everything that was happening with Kevin. Kevin has probably the worst story arc in this movie, I'm telling you, because he goes through the most, I would say. Just one thing after another. And Kevin, who's played by Zac Efron, you just at the end of the movie you feel for them, man. They get you with a couple of these moments. Like there was some moments I was feeling myself probably tearing up because I know what happened to this family. I know how glorious they were together and as brothers. But I do got to say, I think everybody was casted pretty good. I mean, Chavo Guerrero played the Iron Sheik in the movie, which I think he did fine. He didn't really talk or anything like that, so that was good. You got to see Bruiser Brody, the guy that played Bruiser Brody. I hope they make a movie about Bruiser Brody. That is a very tragic story as well. Bruiser Brody was a great professional wrestler, a very nice man from what I understood. Same thing. The guy that played Harley Race, dude, you did a phenomenal job, man. You felt like Harley Race. You moved like Harley Race. I got to give it to you. But the one criticism that I have in this movie, whose idea was it to cast Aaron Dean Eisenberg as the Nature Boy Ric Flair? I'm going to tell you that is the worst Nature Boy Ric Flair that I have ever seen. Let me just put it to you that way. The wig's so fake. He doesn't even look like the Nate. He doesn't move like the Nate. He doesn't woo like the Nate. He doesn't do none of that. He is so cringe as Nature Boy Ric Flair. Even more cringe than some of the guys were on the Young Rock. Like seriously, what were they thinking? Whoever's idea it was to cast that guy. And I'm not trying to bash that guy. I'm pretty sure he thought he did a great job. Dude, you did awful. Because when I went to the Alamo tonight, they were showing Ric Flair promos right before the previews came on. Because that's what Alamo does. They show old school things based on what you're about to watch. And we got to see all of Ric Flair's greatest promos. This guy came nowhere close. So that is the only criticism I have about this movie. The mom was good. The dad was good. All the brothers were good. The wrestlers were good, except for Aaron Eisenberg. Dude, you were awful as Ric Flair. You didn't strut like Ric Flair. You didn't move like Ric Flair. You didn't wrestle like Ric Flair. You did scream like a baby like Ric Flair does. I'll give that to you. But man, you have no charisma. I'm just going to tell you that right now. You have no charisma. Take the criticism, do something with it, and make a better role for yourself, because that is going to haunt you for days. You were nowhere close. That is one thing I can rip that movie apart for. But I'm not going to rip the movie apart because I think this was a masterpiece of filmmaking when it comes to a documentary type movie for a wrestling family. One thing after another, man. Like it's just hitting home. And you feel, this movie makes you feel bad at the beginning, and then you just feel worse and worse and worse as the film goes on. I mean, yeah, you feel worse. And I'm going to tell you that if you do not like feeling bad in movies, this isn't going to be the movie for you. It's a good movie to check out at least once. You know what I'm saying? But for wrestling fans, you're going to love this thing. It's right up there with Mickey Rourke's The Wrestler, if not better. Remember when Mickey Rourke's The Wrestler come out? You felt bad during certain points, right? But it showed how rough the wrestling business is. This thing does the same thing. These guys at BBC Films did amazing, okay, creating this story. I really enjoyed this. It was better than a lot of stuff I've seen this year. It really was. This is one of the better movies I've seen, and it could be one of the last movies I see in 2023. We'll see. We'll see if I decide to go see Aquaman or not. If I don't, you'll know it. I don't know. We'll see. I'll definitely watch Aquaman at some point and then give you guys a review on what I thought of it. But this one, I'm glad I went to see. I had been wanting to see this since the trailer came out. This was a great movie. Like, just even if you're not a wrestling fan, it doesn't focus around the wrestling. It focuses around the boys. It focuses around the brothers, the family, the Von Erichs. You know, the curse of the Von Erichs, which is a real thing. It was so real that Kevin, he didn't want to be around his own kids, just in fear that they would catch the curse. You know, it's one of the crazier stories in professional wrestling. Now, if I'm going to give this film a grade, I'm giving it a solid A. The only reason I'm not giving it an A plus is because of the guy that they casted for Ric Flair. I think that really took away from that scene that Zac Efron was having when Kevin Von Erich was facing Ric Flair. The fact that that man was nowhere close to Ric Flair, it really brought you, like, a normal moviegoer would be fine with it, right? A wrestling fan would not. A wrestling fan would say, this guy is so bad as Ric Flair, I'm not watching what's going on the screen. Because if you know Ric Flair, if you grew up watching Ric Flair like I did, you're going to be like, man, this is taking me out of the scene when I'm not supposed to be taken out of the scene. He's that bad. Like, he's that bad as the Nature Boy Ric Flair. And you know what? As a guy who's seen Ric Flair in person several times, who's actually said hello to the Nature Boy Ric Flair, I'm telling you, that is not Ric Flair. It's really not Ric Flair. So I'm going to give it a solid A. It's going to get a 9.1 on the rating of 10. And if I had to pick another story, another wrestler that they should make a movie on, I know Hulk Hogan's getting one coming out with Chris Hemsworth. They need to do one for Eddie Guerrero, I think. That would be a great motivational piece for young athletes everywhere to show that Eddie Guerrero was a wrestler who had a terrible tragedy in his life, which caused the end of it. And he fought through sobriety. He did an excellent job doing that. He triumphed, became world champion, and then everything was gone. Everything was gone, and that had such a devastating effect on the wrestling world that Chris Benoit, who we all know who Chris Benoit is, the guy was one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. He just did a totally awful thing. Like, if the guy would have taken his own life and not anyone else's, no doubt he would be in the WWE Hall of Fame. No doubt he would still be talked about as a great wrestler today. But because of his brain injuries and because he chose to take the life of his wife and his child, he is not talked about anymore. And I think it should be talked about because it's a very, very strong piece of information for brain injuries in this type of sport. It protects the athletes, it protects the wrestlers, in which I think we all need to know the story of Chris Benoit. Okay? So Eddie Guerrero's death really set forward in motion the stuff that was going on with Chris Benoit. So I would like to see that on the big screen at some point. Now, whether or not Chris Benoit's story ends up on the big screen, I don't know, don't care if that ever happens. I would like to see Eddie Guerrero's. But if you do Eddie Guerrero's, you have to have a Chris Benoit in there. We all know who Chris Benoit is. You have to have a Chris Benoit in there. Let me just put it that way. But for the Iron Claw, solid A, 9.1. Go see it now in theaters. This is a great movie, guys. It's not going to make you feel good. It's not going to make you feel good, but I will attest that this is one of the better films that's come out this year. I went to see several films this month. This is the best one I've seen this month so far, I think. I really enjoyed this because it had me emotional in some points, especially the final scene. The final scene was really, really good. Zac Efron, you deserve some kind of award for this, brother. You really do. All the guys that played in this do. I mean, Jeremy Allen White and Zac Efron, I think you two were the strongest actors in the movie. The dad, Holt McCallany, he did really good. He did really good. I would say put him behind Zac Efron and Jeremy Allen White. But let me just say to the Von Erichs that I have all the love and respect for your family, for what you've given to that wrestling industry. And I just hope nothing but goodwill towards your family from here on out. Screw the curse of the Von Erichs. I mean, the fact that that was even a thing and then all this happened simultaneously. Guys, don't think that this is a Hollywood thing where you're like, there's no way it would happen one after one after one. It did. It really did. Don't think this is just a Hollywood thing for people to feel bad about the... No, everything that happened in this movie happened to the Von Erichs. It's 100% true, everything. So when I say this is going to be a tough film to see, it is. It's going to be a very tough film to see. Just like kind of like Joker was, right? Doesn't make you feel good to watch it, but it was an amazing movie. You know, same thing here. An amazing movie. So guys, that's going to do it. Let me know what you all thought of the Iron Claw in the comments down below. Guys, if you haven't seen the Iron Claw yet, you can always watch the Iron Claw anytime you want and then come right on back to this video and leave what you thought about it in the comments below. I want you to do that. Even if it's 6 months from now, 10 months from now, 2 years from now. Come back to this video and let me know what you thought about it. I want to hear about it, okay? So don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. And as always, this is TCT signing off. You guys have a great night, and I'll see you again on the next movie review. Woo! See, I can even do it better than that guy did. See you guys again next time.